Good morning. At this time, we will call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Thursday, January 24th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Klicka.
Here.
Commissioner Hanslick. Here. Commissioner Ashcraft is out. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Would you join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For those who are present, if you have a noise-making device, would ask that you turn it to silent mode or off so as not to interfere with our electronic communications, as all of our meetings are streamed. There are no special presentations to make this morning at this time, so we'll turn to the public comment portion of our agenda. If there's anyone present who would like to address the commission on an item which does not later appear on the agenda, would invite you to the podium, state your name and address, limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we'll be glad to receive that information. And Mr. Raby, you're way ahead of me. Thank you.
Good morning, Tom Raby, 17513 West 113th Street in Olathe. I don't have enough of these for everybody, so I just got 3. And these are the infamous Johnson's County Gazette. That's a possessive Johnson, meaning it's published by a fellow named Keith Johnson. And on the, this one's dated January the 11th. I picked it up a little late. I wasn't here last week. I apologize. I know you were all looking for me. But there's an article on the front page, and it's a little hard to identify immediately because it splits the fold, but it's on the right-hand side. And it's written by a fellow named Don Bowman. I know Don, nice man. His wife, Gloria, does a lot of work for the Salvation Army shelter on Santa Fe, a couple blocks from here. And I've got one more I will give to the clerk. But Keith is very accessible if you want to get in touch with him or anything like that. But the main reason this got my attention was that it's about homeless people in Johnson County, particularly men homeless who have no shelter in the whole darn county unless some church sets up some temporary cots or something like that. But he shares some figures in there that tells about how many roughly that they know about and the ones they don't know about. I don't know how many of you, if you come here and just go to work here, you may not see this, although I have seen homeless fellas camped in the front entryway to the library right down here, bundled up waiting for the library to open so they could go in and warm up. But I walk at Oak Park Mall 3 mornings a week. And just last Friday, I saw a homeless fella trudging toward the mall with 3 or 4 stuffed plastic bags, maybe looking to camp out there sometime during the day and hide, find a place in one of the service tunnels or someplace to sleep. Probably didn't sleep during the night because it's cold. And I know that this commission can't do a lot directly in this situation, but you can certainly put pressure on some of the municipalities or make them aware that you're aware that this homeless situation, I don't know if it's getting worse. I don't know how long it's been this way, but I'm not a stats person, you well know. But it's a problem. I've seen it, and I get out a lot less than some people, and I'm sure a lot of people in the county have seen this. Don writes about some folks that are trying to get a shelter in Olathe for homeless men. I think that's a plus. The old Masonic building, I think it's on East Park, and I'm not really that familiar with it. But we like to think that all our kids drive BMWs and park in the parking lots at the Blue Valley schools, and we're just living high on the hog, pardon the old country expression. And some of us planned for our old age and retirement to see it chiseled away by tax increases and medical expenses and things like that, and still managed to survive. But some of us don't manage to survive. And some of these people got this way from no fault of their own. And I mean, if they could make their way out to Napa Valley, California, I can give them an address where they'll be welcomed with open arms. It's 11 Zinfandel Lane in Napa Valley. Go there, and you'll be welcomed. Sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good morning. Mike Jensen, 1257 East Butterfield Place, Olathe, Kansas. And I represent a group called Concerned Citizens for Responsible Government. And I want to talk about human trafficking and sexual exploitation. This is, January is a National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And I was going to come with a bunch of stats, but kind of shifted gears at the last minute. There are more illicit massage businesses in the United States than there are Starbucks right now. By illicit massage businesses, I mean places where women are being forced against their will to serve up to 20 men a day. We work on the other side of this problem in Nepal and Bhutan. We have missions over there, and we know families that have personally lost their daughters that very easily could be locked in a strip mall in our wonderful county against their will, being forced to have sex with men every day for money. All right? How can that be and me not be aware of it, you may ask? Well, it's because they don't advertise like Starbucks. Starbucks puts up a big sign and we know exactly what they serve. Illicit massage businesses, they don't operate that way. They're open 7 days a week from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. And they have the windows are usually dark except for a neon sign that says they're open. And then there's usually a picture of a beautiful girl on the window. What are they selling? Well, if you want to know what they're selling, I can give you several websites you can go to where they will boldly, graphically, disgustingly tell you in detail what they're selling. And they will also have customers write detailed reviews of the service they received, much like someone might write a review if they receive a service from one of my businesses. And it's happening right here in Johnson County. We need to break some old myths about prostitution. Number one, it's not a victimless crime. No one ever, as a little girl, says, you know, I'm going to grow up and sell my body. Number two, it's not a profession. Anybody ever seen a college, university, or a professional school that offers training to be a prostitute? So by even calling it a profession, we validate it in some way. And it's not the oldest profession. If it is a profession, it's not the oldest. I think farming, starting fires, fire control would be one of the oldest. Hunting, those would be the oldest ones. We need to stop the myth that boys are going to be boys. You know, a boy being a boy is typically exploiting a girl or a woman that is in a position that she never chose to be in. We have to quit winking. We have to quit winking and joking about happy endings at massage parlors. It's not a joke. There is always vulnerability of exploitation of the vulnerable when somebody ends up in this. I've talked to and befriended a ton of survivors. Without exception, they were molested, raped, or sodomized when they were children. Children, not as an adult. They didn't make a choice. There was always poverty, drugs, crime. Those other things were always connected, and their choices were narrowed down. Their survival choices were narrowed down. He talked about Blue Valley High School and a Beamer in every driveway. They didn't have that choice. Their choice to survive was to sell themselves and to do what the guy that owned them is telling them to do, or else die, lose their child. In some cases, with Johnson County girls that have made some bad choices and sent some pictures to somebody they shouldn't have their dad, their pastor, and the community see those pictures. There's always exploitation of vulnerability. Remember those three words. We're going to talk about Hope. Hope is 22 years old. She's in jail for 10 years at the expense of Kansas taxpayers. You and I are paying $400,000 to keep Hope in jail for 10 years. And some prosecutors seeing this as a win. This isn't a win, it's a tragedy. The people that trafficked her started with her mom when she was 12. The people that trafficked her are running free today. She's in jail for 10 years at our expense, roughly $400,000 for 10 years. That money would be so much better spent in rehabilitating her. That's fiscal responsibility, to me, would be spending that money in a way that would bring hope instead of leaving her behind bars for 10 years. You can't have an honest conversation about this without talking about pornography. The erosion of marriage and family, the objectification of women. You know, what I do in the privacy of my own dark room doesn't affect anybody else, it does. The people that are involved in the pornography industry, especially the women, most of them never chose to be there. Once again, exploitation of vulnerability. Talk to any social worker about the child-on-child sexual assault cases now. This was unheard of 30 years ago. Now we have children raping children. Why? Because they come home from school, and after being in the shopping mall and listening to popular music or watching a movie with sexualization in it and hearing lyrics that are degrading to women, coming home and seeing it on the screen, why would we be surprised that a child would assault a child sexually? And I'm going to say something, and I'm not trying to be gross or nasty, but we all need to hear it and understand it. The result of where we've come the last 30 years is that sending naked pictures for our children is the new form of flirting. And oral sex is the new goodnight kiss. And don't take my word for it. You can talk to the people in our schools that are dealing with our children on this. The illicit massage business is just one way that women and children are sexually exploited. You may say, well, what can I do? Well, there's several things you can do. You can join Veronica's Voice, Street Life KC, Restoration House, Exodus Cry. Many good NGOs are combating this or in the trenches. You could sign the petition. At the very least, you could sign the petition that Derek Schmidt and our Kansas AG have put out. It's called Demand an End. And it basically says that I do not accept that any person should ever be for sale or owned by another person.
Mr. Jensen, an
Am I out
important
of time?
topic, but I'm going to have to ask you to conclude.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? All right, there being no one else to be heard, the public comment portion of our agenda is concluded. I do have several notes for the record. I will be signing the following: an administrative resolution number 19-009, enlarging the privately financed sewer district and providing for the assessments of all applicable fees, charges, and levies for the consolidated main sewer district in the vicinity of 91st Street and Clare Road. An administrative resolution number 19-010, enlarging the privately financed sewer district and providing for all the assessments of applicable fees, charges, and levies of the consolidated main sewer district in the vicinity of 8195 Cole Parkway. We'll be signing an agreement with the City of DeSoto for the public improvement of 91st Street from Sunflower Road to Lexington Avenue, And finally, signing an agreement with the City of Miriam for the public improvement of 67th Street from Antioch Road to the west city limits. That concludes notes for the records. Moving to the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda items?
Item number 1, resolution number 001-19. Consider approving an agreement submitted by the City of Olathe, Kansas and the Fire District Number 2 of Johnson County, Kansas, and ordering the detachment of land from the boundaries of the fire district and the transfer of such land to the city for fire protection services. Item number 2, resolution number 003-19. Consider setting a public hearing for February 14th, 2019 to consider a petition to create a benefit district to improve a public street commonly known as Redbird Street in the Windmill subdivision. And item number 3, request for proposal RFP number 2018-057. Consider authorizing a contract to Gilmore and Bell, PC, for bond counsel services at a cost not to exceed $200,000 for 1 year, with the option to renew for 4 additional one-year periods.
Is there any commissioner who would like to have an item considered separately? Is there anyone present who would like to have one of these items considered separately? If not, it's back before the commission. A motion would be in order. Mr. Allen?
Would move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast.
Yes.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Aye.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving to the action agenda, item number 4.
Consider entering into a 3-year online-only enterprise agreement with Microsoft Corporation for Microsoft subscription licenses for county employees through SHI International Corporation. This agreement will secure and lock in subscription pricing for a 3-year duration in an amount not to exceed $850,000 per year under the State of Kansas contract number 42145.
Right.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here before you again this week. Yesterday, I had sent out a memo to the Board of County Commissioners and the County Manager explaining some of the questions that Commissioner Ashcraft and Commissioner Brown had. I will stand here for any other questions.
Questions of the staff? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak to this item? If not, it's back before the commission. A motion would be in order.
My laptop's not working, but I'll go ahead and make a motion to enter into a 3-year online enterprise agreement with Microsoft Corporation for Microsoft subscription license for county employees through SHI International Corporation. This will secure and lock in subscribing pricing for a 3-year duration at an amount not to exceed $850,000 under the State of Kansas contract number 42145.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the contract with Microsoft as noted. Any further questions or discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka. Commissioner Hanslick.
Aye.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item, item number 5.
Please note, the board is sitting as the governing board of Fire District Number 2 for item number 5 and number 6. Item number 5, resolution number 2019-1. Consider approving Fire District Number 2, waiving the requirements of KSA 75-1120A pertaining to preparing financial statements and reports in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, for year ending December 31st, 2018.
Chief.
Good morning, Jim Francis, Chief, Fire District Number 2. What you have before you today is a resolution that has been passed by the Fire Board every year since the beginning of the board, I guess. So we need this GAAP resolution passed next year. This is for the 2018 finances. Next year, this will not be applicable. or excuse me, in 19.
in 2019.
Yes.
That's because of the Oracle activities, right?
Yes.
Because the county's got total run on the financials.
Right. Any other questions? Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Chairman. Chief Francis, just for background, why has this historically been waived?
I wish I could answer that. I'm not a CPA. Becky's here today. She probably could answer that. Historically, the fire district has always done their accounting in this method, but I'm sure Becky could probably help us there.
Good morning, Commissioners. Becky Jones, Treasury and Financial Management. This is common for small agencies. What they're doing is they're waiving the GAAP requirement and they're preparing their financials on the cash basis of accounting, which is also in line with budgetary basis according to state statute. And so it's very common, and it will be starting January 1, their financials are in Oracle and will be prepared in accordance with GAAP.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anyone who would like to address the commission on this item? All right, do I hear a motion to approve, Mr. Klicka?
I move to approve Fire District Number 2, Resolution 2019-1, waiving the requirements of KSA 75-1120A pertaining to preparing financial statements and reports in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, for year ended December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the resolution as noted. Any further questions or discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast. Aye. Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanslick. Aye. Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye, motion carried. Next item.
Item number 6, consider authorizing a contract with Conrad Fire Equipment for one 2019 Kenworth Pierce tanker truck for use by the Johnson County Fire District Number 2 at a cost not to exceed $282,534.19 to be paid from the Fire District Reserve Funds per Houston Galveston Area Council, HGAC, contract FS 12-17.
Chief Francis.
Yes, seeking approval for this scheduled replacement of what we call a tender truck or a water tanker truck. It's also a pumper truck, has a pump, hose, tank. Seeking to purchase a Kenworth Pierce tanker truck that holds 2,000 gallons of water. It's going to be replacing a 2001 model E1 pumper tanker truck. We do have funds available in our reserve account to fund this. We did have this purchase scheduled. It's 11-month build time. So what we're seeking is approval now to go ahead and generate a purchase order, prepay for this vehicle in order to save a 3% rate increase. And the vehicle will be delivered probably next January of 2020.
And again, Chief, this was a planned capital expenditure,
That's correct.
right? Okay. Questions? Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple. The purchase of the equipment, is it a scheduled purchase?
Yes.
Okay. And you said there was a 3% discount for payment. Would you explain that?
If we wait till February 1st, there's a 3% price increase that goes into effect, and the same thing will occur next year. There is a prepayment discount. If we don't prepay and we pay when this truck's delivered, we have additional fees on top of that.
So it's pay in full?
Yes.
100%?
Yes. There's a trade-in of this 2001 vehicle that will remain ours until this new vehicle is delivered. We have a $40,000 trade-in figured into the cost of this truck.
I am familiar with who Conrad is as a company, but has somebody checked into their financial stability before we write a check for over $250,000 to them?
Conrad's been around for a long time. Nearly all fire departments in the county purchase their trucks in a similar fashion from Conrad through Pierce, the manufacturer. The manufacturer is extremely reputable, as well as Conrad Fire.
Has somebody checked, though? Has somebody looked into their financial position at this time? I'm uncomfortable sending $282,000 to a company that I don't know how stable they are.
Well, I think No, I have not.
No, I'm not asking you, I'm staff.
But, you know, looking at the performance and the historical business that has been performed for fire districts across the county, I would have no reason to question their financial integrity. Mr. Klicka?
Mr. Chairman, while I'll support this and make motion when it's appropriate, question I have for the chief is, I can understand the concern that's being raised here, and I guess a lot of times what we do in government is that we request a performance bond, some way to at least guarantee, which I say, guarantee that we're not going to lose in the deal. I'm wondering, is it possible for the company to put up some type of bond that protects our costs? That, say, for instance, they do have some financial difficulties or whatever. It may be new in this ball game, and Commissioner Brown, I've seen this done in order in the past for fire trucks because of the capital cost of these vehicles. When you get into some of the ladder trucks and things like that, you're going well over $1 million. And for a company to try to front end that to a large extent, it's pretty extensive. But at the same time, I guess I'm wondering, is that a possibility, if not for now, for future, that when we make such a commitment that we can request some type of guarantee bond or something that'll protect our money should we not get the product we ask for?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know the specifics of that question. I will research it and certainly get back with you. I know this is a customary practice in Johnson County.
Okay, Mr. Allen.
Just recently, the city of Shawnee had a pumper delivered by this company. I think they're the largest manufacturer of fire trucks in the United States, so.
Pierce is the number
So
one
I-
manufacturer
but
in the United States.
I understand, but maybe if we look at their financials, but I assume they're well over $100 million operation, so, but
Yeah.
they have a long history, so.
Mr. Brown.
A couple things. I've got a question. I've got a comment along those lines. We went through an exercise that had to do with printing here at the county last year, and a recommendation that came forward about a printing contractor who I raised questions about their financial stability, having done the deep, dark digging. I Googled their name and found that they were struggling. And ultimately, as we sit here today, that company is no longer in business. They've gone bankrupt, their assets have been purchased and they've been absorbed. So from that perspective, I would just offer that just because the name is thrown up as stable and strong doesn't necessarily guarantee it. I would appreciate if somebody would check into that. And then is this a bond issuance for payment, or is this a cash purchase?
This is a cash purchase, and while I'm reading this, I did discover there is a performance bond included in this.
Excellent, thank you.
That takes care of it.
That does, fixes it. Good.
Well, that took care of a few things there.
Ms. Hensley.
I just had a question. I do support this, but Chief, having never purchased a fire truck on my own, I wondered, do they have, is there any kind of warranty that comes with?
Yes,
with
yes,
such
there is a warranty, various lengths for various parts of the truck, but yes.
Powertrain and
Yes.
those kinds of things,
Yes.
okay. And then one of the things that I was particularly interested, because I can certainly see where it's an advantage, is it sounds like the maneuverability of this new truck is much greater than the old truck.
Yeah, the old truck that we're seeking to replace has a four-door extended cab, and it's a very long wheelbase, and it's been a challenge for us when we get on the scene of a rural incident where we use these trucks to turn and maneuver these trucks, because they often have to back up to what we call a dump tank to offload the water. This new truck will have a shorter wheelbase and will be much more maneuverable.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, is there anyone present who would like to speak to this item? If not, it's back before the commission. Mr. Klicka?
I move to authorize a contract with Conrad Fire Equipment for one 2019 Kenworth Pierce tanker truck for the use by Johnson County Fire District Number 2 at a cost not to exceed $282,534.19 to be paid from Fire District Reserve Funds per Houston Galveston Area Council contract FS 12-17. And Mr. Chairman, just as an add-on, and I don't know whether or not we need to add this in the motion, but I'm going to assume, Chief, you're going to do it, that no cash be given until that performance bond is executed.
Correct.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the contract as noted. Any further questions or discussion? If not, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka.
Aye.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Aye.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Any other items?
No, sir.
All right, turning to reports and communications, Ms. Post Oak Ferguson.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. You have in front of you the CERI report, the County Economic Research Institute CERI report from November. A few highlights in that is unemployment rate is similar to this time last year at 2.9%. The single-family homes sold year-to-date, similar to last year, actually a 1% decrease. Cumulative sales are 10,466,000, and then year-to-date for cumulative single-family building permits is 1,777. And I'll see if you have questions on that report. And then I have another item for the agenda that is a courthouse project Santa Fe road closure update. So I'll ask Brad and Jody to come forward to give you an update on an upcoming street closure related to the project. And then Jody can highlight the communications plan that we have to get that out. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brad.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brad Reinhardt with Facilities Management. Yes, beginning on February 11th, Santa Fe will be closed between Kansas Avenue and Chestnut here in Olathe to accommodate the starting of construction of the tunnel extension from the current tunnel across Santa Fe to the new courthouse site. Traffic will be diverted to the south of Santa Fe, down Kansas and Chestnut, and then connecting east and westbound across Lula, so just south of the administration building here, or whichever direction I need to point here. Cherry Street will remain open between to the east of the courthouse and the administration building, and you'll be able to turn east onto Santa Fe to go east on Santa Fe. Westbound traffic will be stopped at Chestnut, though, and diverted to the south. So sorry if that's too much information, but we've been working closely with the city to coordinate this, and certainly Jody and her team have been very involved in the communication aspect.
So if I'm going east on Santa Fe over the railroad tracks, I'll have to turn south on Kansas Avenue down to Lulu and then back up to Santa Fe, either on Cherry or
Cherry or Chestnut, yes.
Chestnut, right. And the same maneuver on westbound, similar.
For westbound, you'll be stopped at Chestnut and go south down Chestnut to Lula, back up Kansas, and then on westbound.
Okay, all right. I know that the mayor has a State of the City speech coming up, I think in, a week from Saturday, a week from Friday.
February 1st.
February 1st, so might give him some information that he might be able to speak to and publicize it at that event also.
Yeah. And I think one thing I failed to mention was the anticipated completion, and when the road opens back up, will be approximately mid-April. So February 11th to mid-April, this portion of Santa Fe will be closed.
Okay, 2 months.
So Chairman, as part of the information that we plan to put out, there will be visuals because it's hard sometimes to describe it. Jody's and team has worked on a whole plan. February 4th is kind of the kickoff of the concentrated plan because that's when the signs will go up, but we're starting obviously today. So if you would like Jody to highlight a few things in the plan to get the word out.
Sure. Jody Hanson, Director of Public Affairs and Communication. February 4th, like Penny said, is the day when our heavy messaging will launch. We've been working with the Facilities Department and J.E. Dunn on a map graphic that will clearly show what areas are impacted and how you can get around those. We will be putting information on the website, all of our social media channels. We can use Nextdoor to target people who live in the area to make sure that they're aware. We're going to be working with the City of Olathe and also the Olathe Chamber to provide them information that they can send out in e-blasts or newsletters, whatever communications they have with their stakeholders. We are creating a flyer, and J.E. Dunn said that they would print it and distribute it to local businesses in the area, so they're aware that their business might be, a little bit impacted by this. We are working with the Kansas City Star to get an article in 913 that should be printed on February 7th. And then we'll continue to do reminders and as the project goes over the about 8 weeks or so to make sure people are aware.
Okay, questions? Ms. Brown?
Will there be something that's easily shared as Commissioner of Olathe? This is my district, something I can easily share onto Facebook and other platforms?
Yeah, we are going to come up with a friendly URL, so I'm thinking it's going to be jocogov.org/courthouse tunnel, so that's an easy link that you can share people to, and anything that we put out there will all be housed on that website page.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I'm assuming the City of Olathe would be interested also in sharing as much information as possible.
Yeah, we're in touch with them. I've also been in touch with the Olathe Chamber.
Yeah. Ms. Hensley?
I just wanted to ask if you are, and I assume you are, coordinating with the district attorney's office and the court system. I'm concerned about people who would have no reason to know of the changes and might be coming down just for a one-time court appearance, and how that might be communicated.
Yeah, that's a great point. I did reach out to district courts yesterday to share our communication plan and to see how we can work together to help them get the word out to jurors, attorneys, and other people that use the courthouse.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Well, I think we all know the best laid plans sometimes cause concerns for those who are unaware. So we will do everything we can to publicize what's going on, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Recognizing many of the street projects that go on for months and months and months and years around here, a 2-month project here is not a bad deal. And I appreciate our folks trying to move to get it done.
That's half of it.
Yeah.
There's the other half of the road still has to get
Still,
done.
I mean, the disruption, considering what's going on in that road there with the tunnel.
I would also point out we're closing a 2-lane thoroughfare in each direction, and we're moving it to Lula and to Cherry under the railroad tracks, narrow 2-lane, and to Lula, which is a narrow 2-lane with a high crown at the track. This is going to be a mess, so much patience needs to be exhibited.
no question. Okay, thank you very much. Anything
Nothing
else?
further. Thank you.
All right, legislative update. Cindy Green.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioner. Cindy Green with the County Manager's Office. Thank you to those of you that were able to attend Local Government Day. I know we had some distractions with weather and some illnesses amongst our group, but we had a nice turnout of folks, got to visit with numerous people across the state and our delegation. I had a couple of good conversations with the tax chairman, and actually spoke to our lobbyists too, just to kind of get some updates of what's happening behind the scenes. But I'm going to kind of review the report that they sent out to us yesterday, and I'll put some insight into there of just some things I heard yesterday too. So the governor's budget was the big thing that happened last week, and I'm sure many of you have read on it. But just some of the highlights that she did put out just a 1-year budget, except for 2 years for K-12 education. And there she's looking to add $521 million from fiscal year 2020 to 23 to meet some of the court's requirements. One of the other big hot items that would give me heartburn is what she's trying to do to KPERS and delaying and restructuring the payments for over a 30-year period would give the state an additional $145 million, which would be beneficial, but I'm not sure that the $7 billion in interest we would pay for it would be helpful to us and for our platform of what we would like for that, the state to be back stable, making their payments and making their past payments that they have not paid. So that will be one that we watch closely. And hearing from several of the speakers yesterday, I didn't find very many people in favor of this piece. So this is just the governor's proposal. It's not the set budget by any means. So we will be weighing in on that, I'm sure, as time goes on. Another one that is one of our top issues too is Medicaid expansion. She looked at contributing $14.2 million from the state's general fund for 2020, if that gets passed. Another one that's important to the county is HCBS funding, and that's increasing that for our IDD community by 10.5%. And 7.65% in the next 2 years' budgets. They did receive a rate increase 2 years ago, but this would still be helpful to the people in that industry. She's also looking at CanCare Clearinghouse, of adding some additional funds to them to help their processes. And then another one on our top 7 is the transportation funding. She is going to actually keep an additional $100 million back in KDOT's funding, which is to help them with additional road projects across the state. So we were thankful for that one. Broadband expansion. She was looking at putting $950,000 in order to gain $9.5 million from the federal government on some things that they're doing for rural broadband. And you think, okay, Johnson County doesn't have issues with this. Well, we do. This is not just a rural issue, because we have portions of Johnson County too that could benefit from expansion and increased capabilities. And not just, they may have broadband, but it may be very slow and such in parts of our county. Next program she's looking at additional funding for is the child welfare program, of adding another $4 million just to help hire an additional 55 social workers. And that would be beneficial to the state. And then IT infrastructure. They're looking at doing some modernization and revamping of how we do IT services across the state. The one thing we did not see that we might have anticipated in the governor's budget was reduction of sales tax on food. But from our hearings and meetings yesterday, I don't think that one's going to happen this year. I think there's still an interest in that, but it will most likely won't happen until next year, that might get some traction. I think they're still trying to stabilize the funding. We've been increasing our income, but I don't think they're ready to take that reduction yet, because that is a huge number across the budget purposes. They did state that the ending balances would be 9.5% for 19 fiscal year and 9.1, and statutorily they're only required to have 7.5. So there are people already after that 1.5. They don't know that that's necessary to have that. So there may be some ways there that some of those funding, instead of having such a large ending balance, will be moved. Another note that on the Senate side, Senator Wagle has set up a special tax committee outside of the current tax committee. There's a little politics going on up there within those committees, but she wants to work on what she's calling the tax windfall from the federal government changing their income tax itemization and such. So that will be something to watch for the next couple weeks to see where that direction goes. Spoke last night also to the tax chair in regards to remote sales tax, another item on our list, and he thought that that would get some traction this year. The important one there is first to keep a close eye on whatever is done in that legislation, that that sales tax doesn't just go to the state, that it goes with the current formulas that shares that with the cities and counties. So we are on the lookout for that one, and we will be watching other meetings and legislations if they come up over the next weeks, and I'm available for questions.
Questions of Ms. Green. Ms. Fast.
Do you see any movement on increasing the exemptions on the tax lid?
I talked to several people on that, and they said it never hurts to ask. So everybody was very clear that they didn't think repealing it, which is what we've kind of come to the conclusion to. But I think that we will be working with our lobbyists to say which ones could we put in and start seeing if we could get some kind of a bill. There is a, because they're promoting it as a redoing of the tax lid a little bit, but it was a bill that was introduced last year and they didn't get it through all the committees. But it allows you, let's say if our airport, we decided we wanted to take them in as an entity, that their funding would come with us, it would not impact us against the tax lid. So there's some communities that currently have an issue like that going on, that they're trying to get that changed, but it's not additional exemptions at this time. But there may be a way for us to talk to committee chairs. We also spoke to the Senate local government chair, and she's willing to look at additional exemptions with us.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Is there anything else, Ms. Post-Oak Ferguson?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, turning to commission comments, Ms. Hensley.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say thank you, actually, to Ronnie Metzger, our election commissioner. Last week, he very generously gave me about 3 hours of his time, and we did an extensive tour of the election office. I got to see all those 2,100 machines that are kept there in storage, and it was very, very interesting. I had a lot of questions. And I think what was most helpful to me was looking at what are those things that the election office has control over and what things they don't have control over. There's a lot of things that are required by statute that the election office, there's no wiggle room in there. And then some other things, there is some control. There are some things that only the Secretary of State can change. And so I'm looking forward to continuing those discussions with Commissioner Metzger so that we can assure our citizens that our election process is as reliable and secure and valid as possible. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a few items. Attended the Kansas Chamber dinner on Tuesday evening, well attended, given the weather conditions. That ultimately forced me to spend the night in Topeka, and I have a personal rule about not allowing myself to be in Topeka longer than 24 hours at any given time, so I did not join you all yesterday. Was at the Johnson County Republican Party luncheon, Elephant Club luncheon with Senator Moran yesterday. Much conversation about federal issues, and always good to see our senator. Again, much happening in Edgerton, DeSoto, Gardner, and Olathe. And if you haven't been to Edgerton in a little while, take a spin down I-35 and have a look. It does not look the same. Every time I'm down there, it looks completely different. Much happening there. And then I would like to ask the county manager if I could get an update from our legal department regarding the Walmart case that wrapped up last week at Board of Tax Appeals. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Allen.
Just thank you to Cindy and staff for organizing the trip to Topeka yesterday. It was very well attended by commissioners and staff, and again, I thought it went very well and had some good conversations also.
Mr. Klicka.
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Fast.
Yes, I have 11 cities in County Commission District 1, and I've been meeting one by one each week with my mayors. On Friday, we had a Northeast Johnson County Mayor's Luncheon, and the utility issue came up. And thank you to KCP&L here, who's been working with us in the Northeast cities about all the power outages, and we're going to continue to work. Do we look at underground lines, which is very expensive because with the ongoing storms. I guess one staff request I have is just with the furlough, if the shutdown continues, I know the county works with the city on utility assistance. Has that been increased? I'm just really concerned if this shutdown continues for several more weeks. Where are we on some of the resources that we provide? I mean, do you know have they increased with usage or?
I haven't got an update, but we can get you that information.
That'd be great, thank you.
My recollection that many of the activities that involve federal funding in human services, for instance, food stamps, et cetera, that there's funding through March, a period in March or towards the end of March. And if it goes beyond that, then there are difficulties, substantial difficulties.
There is, KCP&L is in the audience. Looks like she's available to answer a part of that if you so choose. Rebecca Galati, KCP&L. Chairman, would you like her to give a highlight from KCP&L's perspective?
Rebecca, you're welcome to make comments if you'd like.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Galati. I'm with KCP&L, and I just wanted to answer Commissioner Fast. We have established a payment program for employees who are furloughed right now, where they are not charged for late fees. And then there's also a payment option available on both our KCP&L and Westar service territories. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I know this is not a new issue, but from personal experience of about a year and a half ago, I think it was August, we had a large windstorm, and I had a tree in my backyard come down, take out the main power line. I was not popular in my subdivision for several weeks until things got cleaned up, but it did prove to me that you do need to trim trees and keep them away from the power lines in case circumstances of wind and/or ice and snow. So I would encourage anybody to take a look at that issue. And I made several corrections in my backyard, and I think it proved well this past snowstorm we had. So thank you.
Chairman, additionally, Susan Bakaric is here with wastewater, and she can share from that utility perspective, but we do have bills that are just going out. So Susan can give a quick highlight on that as well.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Our first bills are just going out, so we haven't been receiving calls, but what I would offer is that we typically work with customers that need assistance, so we provide some funding through Human Services through the Utility Assistance Program if they need assistance that way. In addition, similar to KCP&L, we will remove late fees, if they are not able to pay their bill on time. So we'll work with our customers.
Thank you. We do have a study session scheduled at 11 a.m., and that's in room 202, 204. We'll be reviewing the citizen survey questionnaire. And then this Saturday, 7:30 a.m. At the DoubleTree will be the Chamber Legislative Policy Task Force hearing information from our legislators. Several of us are going to attend that. And then Thursday, 1:29 in the afternoon, beginning at 1 p.m. at Tomahawk Golf Course facility, we will begin our board retreat, which will continue that afternoon, and then again the following day until about 4:30 p.m., same location. Do want to take just a moment to recognize Commissioner Jim Allen. Jim is celebrating his 10th anniversary as a commissioner for Johnson County, and there is no check in there, but there are a couple of items, a letter from the county manager, as well as I think a pen noting the 10 years of service. So congratulations and thank you very much, Jim, for your service to our county.
Thank you.
I would simply say this is a small recognition of Jim's public service to our community, to the city of Shawnee. And so thank you very much for activities beyond or before coming to the commission.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I do appreciate, I've worked with several different commissioners in the last 10 years. I see the sheriff out there, but I've enjoyed it. This is a great county, a great organization, great staff, and it's frankly a privilege to be up here. So I look forward to working with everybody in the future.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That concludes our regular agenda. We will adjourn and come back in just a few minutes to do the agenda review for next week's business session, followed by the study session, as I indicated. Thank you all.
sure I will sometime. I wish they would have like a tape on there. I'm so stupid that I play.
Fiduciary, I'd like to.
I'll try to put mine in there and then.
Get started for our-
It doesn't move, you can't move it.
We'll do that.
Linda?
Okay.
Well, we need to see if it works, don't we?
Linda?
That's what I'm saying.
Hi, this is my protection.
That was on purpose.
Thank you. At this time, we will please call the order for agenda review. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Klicka.
Here.
Commissioner Hanslick. Commissioner Ashcraft is absent. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Would the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda items?
Item number 1, invitation for bid number 2017-094. Consider authorizing a one-year term and supply contract each with Cabot Norit Americas Incorporated and Carbon Activated Corporation to purchase activated carbon for Johnson County wastewater facilities in an amount not to exceed $400,000 with the option to renew for 4 additional one-year renewal periods. Item number 2, consider authorizing the Mental Health Center to sign a memorandum of understanding with the cities of Prairie Village, Leawood, and Mission Hills, and add 1 FTE for a proposed co-responder position to provide crisis intervention assistance and authorize the reclassification of reserves in an amount not to exceed $109,000, all of which shall be funded by the participating cities. Item number 3, consider authorizing the Mental Health Center to sign an addendum to the Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Lenexa and add 1 FTE for a proposed co-responder position to provide crisis intervention assistance and authorize the reclassification of reserves in an amount not to exceed $109,000, all of which shall be funded by the City of Lenexa. And item number 4, consider authorizing a one-year agreement with Worldwide Technologies for $116,991.28 for support and licensing of the county's data center, Cisco networking, and security infrastructure from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 per State of Kansas contract 42860.
Okay, thank you. Susan, any comments you'd like to make?
Morning. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioner. Susan Pitcairn with Wastewater. This is a recommendation for award to 2 vendors who supply activated carbon. We use activated carbon to treat the stinky air, essentially, from the wastewater treatment plants. So we provide odor control. And as you're using that, it gets used, the activated carbon gets used up. So we need to be able to have access to vendors so that we can replace the activated carbon once it's used up.
Okay. Any questions? Ms. Fast.
I will just say, as a person who lives in the neighborhood, and my neighborhood deals with that stinky smell, so we greatly appreciate this, so that we can have our windows open and be outside.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Susan. This will remain on consent. Any questions of Mr. Fortney? Do you have anything to say in regards to the FTEs on the next 2?
Tanner Fortney, Mental Health. You're all familiar, I think, with the co-responders. I know we have 2 new commissioners. If they have questions, I'll be happy to answer any. The first one that you have is with the cities of Prairie Village, Leawood, and Mission Hills. They're currently part of the Northeast co-responder contract. They've asked to be carved out of that agreement and have their own dedicated co-responder to serve those cities. And the second, so that is a new contract. And then the second item that you see is actually one for Lenexa. They do have a co-responder position, and so the difference is we're just signing an addendum to an existing MOU to add a second.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Klicka?
Could you do a favor? I'm extremely supportive of this program, and obviously I've made it very clear I'd like to see this aggressively promoted even into the school districts too. But can you give us a status report, some type of written status report how this past year has gone with those programs and some of the results that you've generated as in relationship to that?
Yes, I can do that for you.
Thanks so much.
Ms. Fast?
I will say, my visits with mayors and the police chiefs, this is their number one concern. It's about the increasing need with their law enforcement and why the Northeast area has split off into two areas. I wasn't quite sure with the memorandum of agreement, is each of the three cities paying equal? I mean, is Mission Hills paying as much as Leawood? Or it says pro rata, but what does that mean?
That means that it's split up. Different cities will be paying a different share of the percentage, and that's largely based, they're different size cities, they have different needs.
So is like majority will be Leawood, Prairie Village?
I believe
small
Leawood was the
percentage?
majority amount.
Which one?
I believe Leawood was the majority.
The majority?
Yes.
Well, now, as I understand this, Prairie Village and Leawood are setting up their own separate rather than continuing with one combination?
Well, Leawood, Prairie Village, and Mission Hills will all have one co-responder for the three of them. I believe Leawood, actually, their police department provides services to Mission Hills. But all three of them will have one dedicated versus.
Prairie Village provides.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Prairie Village provides the police service. So the three of those communities, though, will all have one for the three of them, as opposed to just being part of the Northeast conglomerate.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Henslick.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question. Can you clarify the time frame? I'm assuming this is a 12-month agreement, but I would appreciate clarification on that.
Sure. Actually, these agreements are ongoing. The way the contract is set up, once we hire the position, they've signed the MOU with the cities. We bill the cities on a monthly basis, and they are aware that every year costs do increase with merit increases for staff as well as other ancillary costs. The only thing that we're paying for that's separate from the cities is for the use of a laptop computer. That is something we absorb in our operating budget.
So the MOU continues, but the cost changes can change on an annual basis then?
Yes, and we bill them monthly for that.
Any other questions? All right, this will remain on consent. Brian, any comments you'd like to make on item number 4?
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. We have an item today before you for a support maintenance licensing agreement for our critical infrastructure. Over the years, in most recent years, we've expanded our support across the county, including new libraries, et cetera. So that support for that equipment has grown, and now we've hit that $100,000 threshold that we need your approval. I will stand for any questions.
Questions? All right, again, this will remain on consent. Moving to the action agenda, number 5.
Consider approving the January 10th, 2019 business session minutes. Commissioner Fast and Hanslick were not present as board members that day.
So that will remain on action. Next item.
Item number 6, consider approving and authorizing an increase of $960,000 for the Sheriff's Office Fleet Maintenance and Vehicle Storage Facility, capital project located at 15755 South US 169 Highway in Olathe, Kansas, bringing the new total project authorization to an amount not to exceed $1,960,000, and to authorize the reallocation and use of general fund reserves in an amount not to exceed $960,000 to fund the project.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Good morning, Chairman Eilert and Commissioners. I'm Brad Reinhardt with Facilities Management. You may recall that the county closed on the acquisition of this property in August of last year. The funding authorized by the board at that time included acquisition costs for the property, payment of back taxes, equipment for the sheriff's operations, and capital improvements to the facility. The initial allocation for capital improvements allowed for the necessary renovations for code compliance and occupancy. It provided for repairs to make the building safe, secure, and watertight. This scope also accommodated vehicle and equipment storage as well as sheriff motor pool activities. However, it did not include finishing out the entire facility, nor did it allow for any exterior site improvements. During the design work by our consultant, additional public safety functions were brought forward by the Sheriff's Office to be housed within the facility. These added programs now require additional funding authorization for us to finish out the spaces in the building and implement the necessary site and security improvements. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Reinhardt? Okay, there are no questions. This will remain on action. Next item.
Item number 7, resolution number WD 19-001. Conduct a public hearing and consider authorizing funds for design bid engineering services for the Nelson Biosolids Facilities Project, CMSD-Contract 28, at the Nelson Complex Wastewater Treatment Facility in an amount not to exceed $1,400,000.
Ms. McCary.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. This request is for funding for design phase at the Nelson Complex Treatment Facility. And the Nelson Treatment Facility is located at roughly I-35 and Lamar Avenue, and it treats water from the Turkey Creek watershed as well as the Mission Main watershed. We've got a map coming up here. Mission Main watershed is essentially the Brush Creek and the Rock Creek service areas. Nelson Complex is one of 2 treatment facilities that processes solids that are removed as part of the wastewater treatment process. In November of 2016, the board authorized funds for a study that included looking at both short-term and long-term alternatives for processing solids at the Nelson Complex, as well as providing backup options. Solids from the Nelson Complex are currently disposed of at the Johnson County landfill, and we don't have a reliable, firm backup. There's no landfill within a 100-mile radius that can take the solids from this treatment facility. And so therefore, as part of the study conclusions, that identified the need to add a digester so that we would be able to stabilize those solids at the Nelson Complex. We'd also, by stabilizing those solids, then we can beneficially reuse them, so land apply them. That's how we process solids at our Middle Basin facility. Those solids are beneficially reused on cropland. Let me show you here. So we actually have at Nelson, we have some existing digesters that were mothballed several years ago. And so we'll actually be rehabilitating one of the digesters and then adding the facilities to be able to stabilize the solids. Then the landfill will actually become our backup once this project is complete. So again, this request is for design funding. The requested amount is $1.4 million. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Ms. Fast.
This isn't dealing with this. I heard from several Mission residents about the community garden on your property. They love that. And is that relationship, will that continue? I mean, that they be able to have a community garden, or is that an agreement, or year by year, or you just allow them to use that land?
I would have to check into that for you. That garden predates me, so let me check into that and get back to you.
I'm sure from being at the waste center, they have a lot of fertilizer now.
They don't use anything from wastewater, but yes.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing, so remain on action. Mr. Allen?
Susan, I have 2 quick questions. The dollar amount that we would currently be spending to send those solids to the landfill annually, I assume that's a fairly significant figure? Or?
It is a significant figure. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I'll get that for you.
And I know we've had discussions that this overall plan and the possibility of a major reconstruction. If that took place, would this digester be integrated into a new plant? Or?
Yes, it would. So we are going to utilize HDR engineers to do the design. They did the study for this. They are also the engineering firm that's looking at the master plan study, and so they have been considering the digester as part of that study. So this would not be throwaway money, so to speak. It would be incorporated into the new treatment facility.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, next item.
Item number 8, resolution number WD 19-006. Conduct a public hearing and consider authorizing funds for Johnson County wastewater facility improvement projects in an amount not to exceed $1,769,000.
Susan.
Good morning, Susan Picaric from Wastewater again. So this is a multi-project briefing sheet. We bring these to the board periodically, usually 2 to 3 times a year. These are for projects that are generally routine in nature or programs. We have 3 requests on our briefing sheet today. These are all related to our sanitary sewer system or our collection system. The first request is for asset renewal, and the amount of the request is $1.119 million. And that funding is primarily for rehabilitation and renewal of our sanitary sewers, pipes, and the manholes. The second is for the City Street and Storm Program in the amount of $350,000. And this is for when cities are doing their street and storm improvement projects, they may be required to relocate sanitary sewers as part of their project. So this funding provides us the ability to reimburse them for that work that takes place inside the right-of-way. As part of this program, it also allows us to work with the cities in case we need to perhaps make improvements to our sanitary sewers. They'll include that in their project so that the street is only dug up one time and we're not going back and digging up a new street. The last part of this request is $300,000, and that's for our private infiltration and inflow program. And as part of that program, we actually will remove sources that would be directly connected to sanitary sewer, that in which rainwater might be going directly into our sanitary sewer system. We don't want that water to go into the sewer system because it can overwhelm the sanitary sewer. So this program helps pay for disconnecting those sources. These are sources that are part of homes. So for instance, downspouts that might be directly connected. Those types of things aren't allowed these days, but historically they were. And so to date, we've removed almost 17,000 sources. Over 16,000 is what we have in the briefing sheet, but we're almost up to 17,000 sources. So
okay.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I would say this, if commissioners do have questions on these 2 items, Susan or her staff would be glad to provide that information earlier. This will remain on action as a public hearing is required. Next item.
Item number 9, consider approving a contract extension with Midwest Injection Incorporated for the removal and land application of biosolids from Johnson County wastewater facilities through September 3rd, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
Susan Pekarik, yes, thank you. Susan Pekarik with Wastewater again. As I mentioned when I was talking about the Nelson Complex earlier, we also process solids at the Middle Basin facility, which is located at 69 Highway and College Boulevard. And there we actually stabilize the solids, and those are beneficially reused on cropland. Midwest Injection provides those services for us currently. We're at the time when we need to renew that contract and put it out. We did issue it for bid, but based on some of the questions we were getting, we decided that we wanted to pull that bid back, and we're going to issue an RFP so that we can evaluate the contractor's ability to be able to ramp up because the new Tomahawk treatment plant will go online during the period of this contract. And so we would like to extend Midwest contract for 6 months while we can go through that request for proposals process and do a qualifications and cost-based assessment.
Just keep in mind that when Tomahawk Creek comes online, it'll handle basically twice the volume it had handled previously. So.
Correct, yes, thank you, sir.
Questions? Consent? Yeah, consent. So noted, all right. Before we adjourn, I think next Thursday there are 2 activities. One is the Northeast Johnson County Mayor's State of the Cities. That's at the Marriott. And I also think the Leawood, as I recall, the Leawood State of the City is also occurring. So we will try to adjust the agenda so that those who want to attend either one of those events have the opportunity to do so. And our study session then will be later in the afternoon.
Yes, we'll schedule that for 2 o'clock to give time to return from those events.
Okay, all right. That concludes our agenda review. So we are adjourned, and we'll reconvene for a study session at 11 a.m.
Thank you.